Please.
Isle of mountains, giving cheer that warms the soul.
Thank you.
Before you as planters and irrigators, fishermen, challenges faced by farmers young and old, near and far. We pray that we keep a united front in the quest for food security for our region, and that the objectives of this agriculture symposium were fulfilled and won't go unnoticed. We pray that the powers that be will now have greater insight of challenges from the youth and be given the foresight to work for the betterment of this regional sector. We say thank you, and we pray for the organizers, the donors, the facilitators, and all stakeholders that they are blessed with the resources and ability to continue the hard work and collect.
Yeah. Thank you, Earl White, for inviting the presence of the Lord in our midst. At this time, let me recognize the head table. I want to recognize the Honorable Irvin McIntyre, Minister for Finance, Economic Development, Climate Resilience, and Social Security. Honorable Roland Royer, Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy. Honorable Julian Defoe, Minister of State in the Ministry of Agriculture. Honorable Lakia Joseph, Parliamentary Secretary in Agriculture. My anticipation is that we have many more chapters. I don't want to be biblical because the first chapter was Genesis. This means that we have many more chapters to forge ahead. Our dreams and aspirations were discussed, and the theme suggests journey of growing the future and harnessing the dreams. Over the past 3 days, we engaged in productive. The future is bright. We need collective actions, creating a platform for sharing best practices. So with these few words, I welcome you, and I would want to call Dr. Let me just take the program.
To address you here this evening. Right here and now, I've been given the opportunity from my peers to represent them, not as separate voices, but as one voice, with a shared common dream. I want to talk about something that is vital to our future, the role of youth in agriculture. In a world that is rapidly changing, where technology and urbanization are reshaping our societies, it is easy to overlook the importance of agriculture and again, Dominica, for a common purpose to fulfill a common goal. We are gathered for you to listen, learn. We were gathered for you to listen, learn, and understand what is needed of you to make that significant change. So I would like to set out now for you what we have discussed and agreed during the OECS Youth in Agriculture Symposium as our top challenges, suggested solution levels. Example, agriculture youth ambassadors. Capacity building, promotion of adaptation of technology and improved access to information. A one-stop shop for information, the use of websites, phone calls, and the ministerial offices. Websites to access all information, specialized telecoms, people, direct access to affordable and consistent inputs. Allow the institution mandated and charged with the responsibility of documenting farmers, agro-processors, etc., according to their needs. Pray their larceny. Stronger legal penalties and fines with the support of the police force, security firms, and judicial systems. the use of the local telecommunication companies to sensitize localities of crops, financing and insurance, government and farmer financing and insurance cooperative, create a system which covers financing and insurance for farmers by a way of monthly fee or by shares. The creation of an agriculture insurance fund. Farmers from all backgrounds make small contributions monthly in conjunction with governments, match or increase their contribution, and eager to explore new ways of doing things. These qualities make them the perfect candidates to lead the transformation of agriculture in the 21st century. Imagine a world where young people harness the power of technology to increase crop yields, where they develop sustainable farming practices that protect our environment, which is educational opportunities, access to affordable and easy funding, mentorship, internships, and the necessary encouragement needed to bloom young, strong, and vibrant in the sector. We must inspire young people to see agriculture not just as a job, but as a calling, a way to contribute to the greater good, to nourish the world, and to build a more sustainable future. Let us work together to make agriculture a field where youth can thrive, where their contributions are valued, and where they can make a lasting impact on the world. The future is bright, and it is you, the young people, who will light the way. And always remember, put God first in everything you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Permanent Secretary, Ryan Anselm. And permit me to adopt the protocol that has been so ably established, but I want to recognize the honorable invited guests. A pleasant good evening to all. First of all, permit me to bring very warm greetings on behalf of the Director General of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation in Agriculture, Dr. Manuel Otero, and the entire ICA family. And we are extremely pleased to be part of this very special event. As we draw to the close of this remarkable Youth in Agriculture Symposium here in the beautiful island of Dominica, I stand before you with a deep sense of pride and optimism for the future. The arrangements were very, very well organized, and I wish to really place on record our heartfelt thanks and appreciation to you for your efforts and your leadership. I recall in Grenada when ministers met last year, Minister Royer and at that time Permanent Secretary from the OECS Commission have been the drivers behind the conceptualization and the planning of this event. And I think we need to really recognize the OECS Commission. And I also wish to recognize all of our other development partners who came on board. FAO, WUS, PLSLN Agriculture are exactly what we need to transform our agricultural sector. Over the course of this symposium, I'm pleased to note that we have delved beyond the surface value of critical topics, such as sustainable farming practices and climate resilience, to actually outline initiatives and strategies which institutions like ICA and others can now take and embrace to ensure that we enable and empower our youth to take the reins of the agricultural sector. The Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture is committed to supporting these efforts, providing the necessary resources, training, and guidance to ensure that our young agripreneurs can thrive and lead the way towards a more prosperous and sustainable agricultural future. In closing, I urge each and every one of you to build a future for all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Rawlins. We know we can always count on ICA or ICA, depends on the language that you speak. At this time, yes, the OECS has been instrumental in supporting agricultural development in the OECS Caribbean states, as well as coordinating youth.
Yeah, they're supposed to project. Are they projecting? Are they going to project? So can I hook that up directly to the screen?
You have HDMI.
He said yes. Oh, okay. All right.
I think you need another introduction.
Yeah, that's okay.
Go on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised.
Okay, so the revolution, contrary to what he says, will be televised. And the revolution is what is happening here and what is going to happen from tomorrow. Goes from FAO, we hear you loud and clear, and we are committed to making this happen. Next slide. There's a Chinese saying that opportunity is crisis riding a dangerous wind. And that, for me, is a very crucial guiding saying. Because too often in the Caribbean, when we are faced with problems, we throw our hands up in despair, or we hustle to find of Hurricane Beryl. For us here in this room, Hurricane Beryl, as well as before Hurricane Maria in Dominica, is the greatest opportunity for agriculture, because it brings home to us the importance of resilience in the food sector. Next slide, please. Exists within the OECS in order to make things different. Because one of the problems, too, is that no matter what the subject matter is, whether you're talking education reform or you're talking agriculture, people tend to see things just in the narrow perspective of where I sit and the problem that's affecting me. So if my problem in agriculture is getting inputs to boost my production, you bring me in a meeting like this, and all I want to talk about is new technologies, and we don't deal with things totally outside of agriculture, like foreign exchange. We're in trouble. We have grappled with a problem for the last 4 years at the OECS with hucksters, mainly from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but probably some, I don't know if the Dominicans go that far, selling agricultural produce in Trinidad and Tobago. And they sell all their produce within hours of landing there, and then they get paid in TT dollars. And they cannot come back home with the TT dollars. So all of that effort means nothing unless you can convert your money. We have proposed time and time again that let us have each central bank hold a basket of currency. An export advantage becomes an export advantage not for the huckster in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but for the private sector in Trinidad. So it's like, it's a futile recycling. The picture on screen here is something called we have in the OECS, the Eastern Caribbean Liaison Service. This is the program which I'm sure most of you may be familiar with, where we send workers to Canada to work on farms in Canada. Truthfully, when I came to the OECS, acres producing cherry tomatoes. You'll see a picture in a while. But what is here before you immediately is an organic farm, and the young black man in the middle is a St. Lucian youth who went on the program because he wanted to be placed on an organic farm. His family has a farm in St. Lucia. And so he's learning the techniques. This is a totally circular farm. Everything is organic. Nothing is wasted. There are no external inputs at all. And Not necessarily for you to go on a farm and work, but at least to go on an attachment for a sufficient length of time that you get a hands-on experience of how to utilize that technology. Can you flip the next, please? So this is a scene of the 17 acres farm. You can see how long that corridor is with the vines upraised, and cherry tomatoes is being sold all over the world. Next slide. Other opportunity. I visited a place in the US called Whole Foods. I'm sure many of you may have heard of the Whole Foods conglomerate. You cut it into small pieces and just for people to eat. At $4 US. But dried mangoes, look at the price. What does it say? $9 US virtually. $9 US for a bag of dried mangoes. I was talking to one of our colleagues who had raised this issue about using solar dryers to dry fruit and to properly package and export them. Think of it this way. How many mangoes are there being wasted during the mango season? All over the island. 50 million, probably more, who knows, in the entire season. But here's the thing. You don't have to own a farm producing mangoes. We don't need a mango plantation to do that. There are enough mangoes falling on the road. You bag them and vacuum seal in a nice package like this, and you export to a place like Whole Foods, $9 US. Something that was earning nothing before. And you don't need to own a farm, a plantation of mangoes in order to do this. So these are the types of opportunities that exist, colleagues. And these are the things that we need to stand behind these things. Now, here in Dominica, we have the Kalinagos. Maybe because of our colonial past and the fact that those in Central America have lived in their own space, generally uninterrupted. But in our case, we've had the inflection of colonialization and so on. But the design of that is distinctively Kalinago. The opportunities are limitless. It is only for us to seize these opportunities, but we cannot do it alone. It's not for just one young person here to decide they want to get into the weaving. If the Kalinago community in Dominica decides that this makes sense, the baskets that they're already weaving, we need to add the story to those baskets. Then make it part of the tourism tour of the Kalinago district. Then advertise it, sell it in Whole Foods. The labels you see hanging on the Central American baskets, each tells the story of the design and the color. So that all what Mr. Rollins presented today in the session about what's available through IECA is not what he is promising to make available, is what they are already committed to make available. Because Minister Roy and I visited Central America, Costa Rica, and we signed 2 agreements with IECA and with an institution called CATI, which has all of what Mr. Rollins described. So we already have in place the agreement to realize those ambitions. And you can see there also honey. Next slide, please. It's about giving voice. And you spoke loudly, you spoke clearly. You were not fearful in voicing your criticisms, whether of governments, or of OECS, or of IECA, or of technocrats. You spoke clearly, we heard, and it's in here. every problem that has been identified. And while we may think some of these problems are on the problem is difficult to get people. So what do? I have had people come to me in St. Lucia, not just farmers, but contractors especially, saying, do you think the government should allow us to bring in Haitian labor or labor from elsewhere? Now, how can we be doing that? I mean, in some cases it's necessary, but how can we continue to do those things when we have young people sitting idly by the roadside smoking weed? There is surplus labor in the islands. So what is the solution? One of the things we're proposing, and we have already done a concept, in agriculture or in construction, at your community college, anywhere in the OECS, you are going to do 50-50 time. 50% in the classroom, learning the theory and the practice. We'll propose to our governments, why not have a tax rebate? So if I pay $1,500 in the month to a student intern, then I can get a rebate of $1,000 on my tax return. So I'm still putting something in because I'm getting what I need, but it's also easing the pressure on government to come up with the cash. Again, Minister Melissa Skerritt spoke in the opening about getting stuff from Amazon for aquaponics. One of the things we said to her, this is very doable, but instead of ordering 10 for this month for youth in Roseau, and next month ordering another 30, why don't we look at all the aquaponics facility equipment we need across the OECS? We aggregate all of that, and then we do a pool, what we call a pool procurement. Because we listened, now we're starting to engage, and then collectively we have to act. The next slide. So what have we heard so far? Yeah, okay, hold it there. What we've heard so far is we heard about, digesting, let me put it differently, not what I already told you what we heard, but what have we digested ourselves and ICA and FAO from what we heard you talking about. We heard the ability, and that we still have to learn lessons on, because equal accountability means where we fall short, we acknowledge we fall short. We don't blame the government because we fall short, or we blame ICA because we fall short. And shared triumphs. Shared triumphs. One of the things we say to our development partners at the OECS, we are not interested in planting our flag on anybody's mountain. If we're working together, then to each, according to their contribution, a commensurate recognition, right? There are things that ICA has, there are similarities as well as important differences. The importance of the youth in agriculture is that it brings new blood. Young people are more tech attracted and conversant with tech. So that is what you bring to the wider sector. You all become the pioneers of the new world of agriculture in terms of technology, in terms of techniques, everything. But we must not disrespect your grandparents who are still in agriculture. Because what we need to understand is that there's a wealth of traditional knowledge that these old people have that we don't have. And a few months ago, there was a serious rainstorm, and a kind of water came down in that area. What was a bare, not even a stream, a trickle running through a gully, suddenly break all banks and even washed away some houses. And then people realized where the name came from. But the old people in the community knew that that's what Grand Riviere was. And nature is such a powerful thing, no matter how you re-engineer it. And collecting that information, but collecting samples of the stuff too. And going back and testing the genetics of that and the genomes and everything, and re-engineering it. And then they find that some of these things really do work. They really do work for the ailments that our ancestors prescribed them for. And then the pharmaceuticals take it up. They patent the information and they make billions of dollars, not millions, billions of dollars, and sell it back to us as packaged pills or medicine, right? And nobody elects him, because then he'll come and sit at a table and talk for himself, right? If you are elected, then you're accountable to the people who elect you. And we will ensure from the OECS that we do template, what do you call it, constitutions and so on, that every one of you must sign up to, so that if you're not performing as you can be removed, and have people who are really ready to represent be able to do that. The other thing too is that from a financial perspective, as we help you mobilize resources, at the table means that you don't come there to listen to what the ministers are saying, you come there as a participant in that council meeting. You can then, even ahead of the meeting, you contact us and say, we have an agenda item to contribute, right? You prepare a paper or concept, it is put before the ministers, it is discussed, decisions made. So, next slide. Training and development. We see internships and training. Well, I already described some of what happens with the community colleges and so on. But there's also buy technology from coming in to do demos. The young man from Trinidad and Tobago who presented, for example, that platform for the sale, the financial platform, he described it verbally, but you need to see it, you need to feel it. So again, having that online, a seminar online, or some means by which that is presented so that we can understand its use and get into it. And on the other side of it, the question of business development support, because that's where you can get online, it's like a single place to go, based again on the configuration of agricultural initiatives that you have, information. If you get useful information, you put it in there so others in the same field can access it. On the technology front, I already spoke about the pool procurement, but also leveraging our diplomatic and corporate connections for donations for some of those things. Go to some of the companies that produce drones, for example, and see whether they would give us, we are a small set of countries, giving us 1,000 drones is no big deal.
And she is also a USAID Vice President of her agro-tourism cooperative. Her interests are not only focused in developing a robust entrepreneurial sphere on her island and beyond, but she is deeply passionate about ICT, innovations in hydroponics, freight farming, AI technology, protein and I know, but